Hey everyone, I want to do a video about an iRobot S9 Plus and replacing the wheel treads. So if you have one of these robots, the wheel tread, the rubber that goes on the wheels, will wear out. This is something that they don't really tell you, and it does it, at least in my house. We have mainly wood floors, but we do have some carpeting and some tile here and there. And it wears out about every 6 months. To replace both wheels is $130, and they wear out every 6 months. So that's $260. With shipping, it's $300 a year to replace these things. So I did some research online, and I'll put some links in below to some Amazon replacements that'll cost you about 20 bucks, 16 to $20, depending on who you buy them from. But the process that I'm going to guide you through here, it's a little bit involved. So if you're not that technically inclined, I would say before you buy the Amazon, even watch my video and see if this is something that you feel comfortable doing. And if it is, go for it. You can save yourself hundreds of dollars by watching this video and buying these retreads. But if not, use it as a consideration in buying these iRobot S9 models or S9 Plus models, because you will be in a situation within a year where you're going to have to replace these because it won't dock properly. And think about it. The second part of this is, keep in mind that there is a difference between S9 and S9 Plus. They are two different models as far as iRobot's concerned. And all the videos that I've looked up online talk about the S9 model, and the S9 Plus is slightly different. There are little differences in how this gets disassembled that can kind of catch you up. So keep that in mind. Hopefully the S9 Plus that I'm posting this time will help you out. Thanks for watching in advance, and let's get to it. All right, so for today, what we're going to do is disassemble an iRobot S9 Plus, which is different than the S9. And I'm going to retread these tires. And whenever they wear out, you can't get them onto the base. It'll have trouble getting up the little ramp there on the base. And so when that happens, you have one of two options, or three options actually. Get rid of the whole thing, because what I'm about to tell you is not cheap, at least one option. Option two is to spend about $140 or more to buy complete replacement parts. So you can take out this wheel assembly, which I'll show you here in a second. You can take this out and the one on this side and completely replace it, pop them in, you're good to go. Now, I'll put a link in the description here. On Amazon, you can buy these retreads. So the first thing you're going to have to figure out is how to get this whole thing apart. You can see that I've already started some of it, but I'll show you step by step how to get it out. The first thing you're going to need to do is, there's a bunch of screws here that you'll need to loosen up. And they don't come out entirely, which is a good thing because you don't want to lose them. But at the same time, you loosen them up with a screwdriver. Now, I have one of my computer setups where it has the different, screwdriver heads you can put into here. So I just found one that fit really snug and pulled it out. You don't want to strip anything, so make sure you get one that works. They're fairly small. Now, once you do that, this top plate, again, the screws won't come out. You just loosen them up. This top plate will come off. You set that aside. Then what you do is, there's two additional screws right here, right there and right there. You need to loosen them up. Now, you don't necessarily need to do this, but I do it just to keep things nice and simple. Is part of your maintenance is replacing these things. So you just pop these out. And then what happens is once you get these two loosened up, there's two more screws up here in the front, right here and right here. Once you get those four loosened up, you can then pop this assembly out. That's it. Comes out just like that. Pop it out, set that aside. All right, to get this wheel assembly out, you have to think of it as left and right. They are slightly different in order to get them out. So I'm going to talk about the left one here. What you need to do is before you take this out, you need to flip this around, open this up, and take out your filter and your dustbin. Set that aside. And then you just kind of flip it around like this. Now on the left side, there's two pieces that you need to do. One, there's this little assembly here on the left that you need to flip up just like that. So can you see that right there? That you got to flip that up. And there's no clips or anything, you just flip it up. Now what you have to do, and this is where the tricky part comes in, you lift it up and you go in where you took your dustbin out, and I'll show you what it looks like here just so you can see it. There's this clip right there, okay? And there's one on the other side for the right side, but you see this little clip right here? What you're gonna do is you're gonna push in on this and pull out the assembly on the other side. This is where the tricky part comes in, right? So you push in on this, flip the wheel assembly around. Once you have that, then just wiggle this and the wheel assembly comes right out. And that's it. And then you do the same, something similar on the right side over here, except this doesn't move. All right, so like on this side, this one flips up. On the right side, it doesn't. All you have to do is reach inside, hit that clip, and the wheel assembly pops out. And that's how you get the two wheels out of the unit. So once you have the wheels out of the unit, they're going to look like this. Now I've already taken the tread off, but you're going to see that this tread is in here. And what you do is you take a really sharp knife and you make a slit across here like this. Very slowly you're going to peel it back, and you're going to find out, you can see on the back of here, there's these ligaments or plugs in the wheel cavity here that's going to hold this on. And so if you look here, you know, for example, when you peel this back, it's going to get stuck right there. So you're going to have to take your knife and cut until it's released, and then you go to the next one. There's, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 of these around the wheel that you're going to have to deal with. But once you get it done, this will come off. This is the old tread. Now remember, the ones that come from iRobot, they look like this when you get a new wheel assembly, but they end up like that after about 6 months. And I called them on this and they said, yep, that's basically how it's supposed to work. I'm not spending $300 a year. These things on Amazon will cost you probably $20. And you get 2 sets. So if these wear out, you got another set for, and then after that wears out, you're good. So if these have the same wear pattern as this, $20 a year versus $300 a year. So do that on both wheels. Take the tread off. And the next stage here, I'll show you how to do this. It's a little tricky, but we'll get through it. So the next part here is figuring out how to put this tread onto this wheel. And you'll notice that it's pretty enclosed like this. There's no way to get in there and put this wheel, this on here. And you can see that there's a spring action going on, and it moves, and you can try all you want to get this done, but here's the trick to this. You need to get, and you'll see I put a really teeny tiny flat screwdriver blade on here. And you can tell that they design these to do it, but they don't really give you instructions how. If you look down inside there, there's the edge of the spring. So you can see this spring here. it's attached up inside here. And what you got to do is you put this flat screwdriver in there, and you put it under there, get it underneath the spring's edge, and you'll see that it releases the spring. Now, getting this back on is a whole process trick. We'll have to work through that. But now that you got this released, this pops up, comes out just a little bit more, like so, and that's going to allow us to kind of finagle this tread onto there. All right, so the next step here is getting this wheel retread on to here. There's no exact science on this, but you're going to have to kind of get creative with it. You can see that I kind of pushed it under there, and then you're going to have to kind of work this around. It's not going to be as easy as you think, but it does work once you get it under there. Got to work it as much as you can. Might feel like you're forcing it at times, but it does get in there. All right, this is the tricky part, getting it underneath this little unit right there. It is a pretty tight fit. You can see I'm trying to rotate it a little bit so that, see, now I got the tread underneath there, but I rotated it around, so now I just got to deal with it on this end. And you can see right here, you know, it's much easier to get in there and pull that tread on from this side than it is to try to keep dealing with it underneath there. So once you get it through, you just got to work it. Like I said, this isn't for the faint of heart. Getting it on there. Getting it stretched out. Oh, almost there. Almost there. All right. I think I got it. All right. So looking at these treads, you can see that when we pulled the old off, there's this inner ring here. So you want to make sure that this inner ring is seated in that groove that I showed you before. Now, the trick is to get this all back together, get the spring loaded, and we should be fine. So this is probably the most tricky part of the entire operation. You can use different things. I've seen people use string or dental floss. That'll work. Don't use thread. Thread's not going to be strong enough to do this. I'm using fishing line. You can get away with any of those things. Just make sure that whatever you're using is strong enough when you're pulling on it, it's not going to break. This gets a little tricky because the spring here doesn't really have an opening in this little hoop. So what I have to do is I have to put this end through the hoop, and then you kind of even your line out. All right, so get your ends together. And then once you have it through the loop and get your spring situated, you're going to want to take this end, these two ends, and feed it through the other side, like so. Right, and grab it. Now you'll see that you have the loop in there with the spring. Then you're going to take the two ends like this, and there's a small opening here where we use that opening with the tool to unhook the spring. You're going to want to take your two ends and stick them through like that. The goal here is there's a little peg that you can't really see in here. It's really difficult to see. You're going to put that hoop back on that little peg that's inside of here. And to do that, you can kind of rotate it like so, and you can just get a glimpse of it in there. You're not going to be able to see it on camera. It's really tiny. But the idea is you want to use your fingers to kind of help guide that spring, and you'll start to see the spring here. And as soon as you get it in position, see, I've already got it, you'll see that you will just move it around and position that spring loop onto that peg. And this is another reason why I like using fishing line, because then once you get it on there, you just pull it out. And now your wheel is fully functional again with the new tread, and you're ready to go. So I'm not going to show you how to do this all again on the second tire, but it's basically the same process. You pull the spring off, cut the tread off, put the new tread on, use the fishing line to put it back onto the hoop, and then put it onto the hook, and that's it. So we'll get back. I'll do that on the other tire, and then we'll get back to the assembly and put it all back together. So now that we have the new treads on the tires, all right, we're ready to put this whole thing back together. So I have it set up. So again, you can look at it this way, but to be honest, it has to turn. So you want it like this, so that this with the lever action is on the left side, so that you get everything straight. You can kind of line it up, but just as reference, keep this on the left. Now you take your wheel assembly that fits in the left side. All right, like so. And you'll feel this kind of click back into place. Now there's some screw holes here. You want to make sure that they line up. This one here, and the one on the back. And if you got it in properly, and you got it situated in there, you'll hear it click. Remember that one that we had to get from the inside there? We had to click it. Then you latch this one down. Same thing on this side. You'll hear this click into the spot. There you go. Now you got your wheel assembly all set up. Next thing is you want this part here that we had in the front. Put this back in. It should click right into place, just like that. And then you'll want your front assembly. Right, again, this should just click all back into place. Now, you have to adjust this a little bit. You see there's a little lip right here on this. This has to go underneath this assembly. So just lift it up a little bit. Make sure that everything sits nice and snug. And then you start tightening up all your screws. And there you go. Everything's put back together. The wheel assemblies work. You got new treads. Everything moves. And you're all back together. So thanks for watching this video. I realize it was a bit detailed and might have went a bit long, but I wanted everyone to understand that when you're doing this type of work, it's $300 to buy the entire wheel assembly for both sides. And by putting in a little work, and with the instructions that I showed you here and the procedures and processes that I showed you, it'll take you about half an hour or so, depending on how long it takes you to get the rubber on the wheel and to get the spring back on the small peg. Those are the two parts of this that will hang up most people, I think. The rest of it, if you just take my video, pause it, follow the instructions the way that I showed you, this shouldn't take you more than half hour, 45 minutes at most. If you like this video, please comment below, subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you.